Hello everyone, I am your educator Arya. Welcome to Arpita Sharma classes, and this is a crash course on environment and ecology for UPSC CSE. And in this crash course, we will discuss important topics on environment and ecology for UPSC CSE on 2020, 2021 and 2022 perspective. Before we start, here is a small announcement. Subscribe to Arpita Sharma classes for daily news analysis, economic MCQ series, Indian polity classes, strategy related classes for UPSC CSE and much more. You can also join our Telegram channel Simplifying UPSC with Ease for class updates and notes. Also, Arpita ma'am is taking live classes on Unacademy Plus. You can use Sharma20 to get 10% discount. So let's get started with the third session of this crash course. So first, we will discuss about environmental pollution. So what is this pollution? Pollution is defined as an addition or excessive addition of certain materials to the physical environment, water, air and lands, making it less fit or unfit for life. So pollution is the addition or excessive addition of certain kinds of materials to our physical environment, such as in water, air or lands, and makes it less fit or unfit for life. So this is known as environmental pollution. So what are these pollutants? Pollutants are the materials or factors which cause adverse effect on the natural quality of any component of the environment. So pollutants are some kind of materials or some kind of factors, and it cause adverse effect on the quality of any component of our environment. For example, smoke from industries and automobiles, chemicals from factories, radioactive substances from nuclear plants, sewage or houses and discarded household articles are the common kind of pollutants. Okay, so what are the causes of this pollution? Causes of pollution are uncontrolled growth in human population. Our population is growing, right? So uncontrolled growth in human population cause pollution, and rapid industrialization, urbanization, uncontrolled exploitation of our nature, forest fires, radioactivity, volcanic eruptions and strong winds. These all causes pollution. First, we will discuss about air pollution. So what is air pollution? Air pollution is the presence in the atmosphere of one or more contaminants in such quality and for such duration as it is injurious or tends to be injurious to human health or welfare, animal or plant life. It is the contamination of air by discharge of harmful substances. So, air is contaminated by the discharge of some harmful substances, and this is known as air pollution. Air pollution will cause health problems, it will damage the environment, property, and it will cause climate change. So, it is the presence in the atmosphere of one or more contaminants. It will contain one or more contaminants in such quality. The quality will be such that its duration is also injurious and its quality is also quantity of the presence of contaminant is also injurious, and it cause damage to human health, welfare, animal or plant life. So this is known as air pollution. Now we will discuss some pollutants and their sources. First one is carbon monoxide, and the source of carbon monoxide is from incomplete burning of fossil fuels. Carbon dioxide from burning of coal, oil or natural gases, CFC, chlorofluorocarbons, ACs and refrigerators, lead. It is present in petrol, diesel, lead batteries, paints, hair dye products, etc. And lead affects children in particular. Ozone, and it occurs naturally in the upper layers of the atmosphere. Ozone occurs naturally in the atmosphere. So, it is not from any man-made processes. Suspended particulate matter. This is very important, and it consists of solids in the air in the form of smoke, dust and vapor. So it is from smoke, dust and vapor, and it can remain suspended for extended periods and is also the main source of haze which reduces our visibility. Sulfur dioxide. It is a gas produced from burning of coal, mainly in thermal power plants. Now next we will discuss about fly ash. So what is this fly ash? Fly ash is a major source of PM 2.5. In summer, it becomes airborne and it gets transported to a radius of 10 to 20 kilometers. It can settle on water and other surfaces. Fly ash contains heavy metals from coal, a large amount of PM 2.5 and black carbon, proper disposal of fly ash is still not happening in many places. Okay. So how this ash is produced? Ash is produced whenever combustion of solid material takes place, right? And what is this fly ash? Fly ash is one such residue of ash which rises with the gases in the atmosphere, into the atmosphere. Fly ash is a very fine powder. It is a very fine powder and it tends to travel far in the air. And this ash which does not rise is termed as bottom ash. Bottom ash is the ash which does not rise, and fly ash is the ash which travel far in the air. And fly ash is a major source of PM 2.5 pollutants in summer, and it gets transported to a radius of 10 to 20 kilometers. Also, it can settle on water and other surfaces, and fly ash contains heavy metals from coal, a large amount of PM 2.5 and black carbon. So this fly ash contains heavy metals from coal, large amount of PM 2.5 particles, black carbon. And proper disposal of fly ash is still not happening in many places. So it is a major kind of pollution. Pollution is caused by this fly ash. Now we will discuss some government initiatives for tackling this air pollution. First one is National Air Quality Monitoring Program. In India, the Central Pollution Control Board has been executing a nationwide program of ambient air quality monitoring known as National Air Quality Monitoring Program. So, it is conducted by Central Pollution Control Board and it is executing a nationwide program of ambient air quality monitoring. And this program is known as National Air Quality Monitoring Program. The National Air Quality Monitoring Program is undertaken in India. So, it is conducted to determine the status and trends of ambient air quality. It is conducted to determine the quality, air quality, and to ascertain the compliance of NAAQS, to identify non-attainment cities, to understand the natural process of cleaning in the atmosphere, and to undertake preventive and corrective measures. Now we will discuss National Ambient Air Quality Standards, that is NAAQS. NAAQS were notified in the year 1982 and it is revised in 1994 based on health criteria and land uses. NAAQS have been revisited and revised in November 2009 for 12 pollutants. So it contains 12 pollutants and it is revised in 2009 and we will discuss about these pollutants. First one is sulfur dioxide, second nitrogen dioxide, third particulate matter having size less than 10 micron, particulate matter having less than 2.5 micron, ozone, lead, carbon monoxide, arsenic, nickel, benzene, ammonia and benzopyrene. Now we will discuss about National Air Quality Index. National Air Quality Index was launched by the Prime Minister in April 2015. It was launched in April 2015 and it's starting with the 14 cities to disseminate air quality information. It started with the 14 cities. The Air Quality Index has 6 categories of air quality: good, satisfactory, moderately polluted, poor, very poor and severe with a distinct color scheme. So, distinct color scheme is given to each categories and each of these categories is associated with the likely health impacts. Okay. So, AQI considers 8 pollutants: PM10, PM2.5, NO2, SO2, CO3, NH3 and PB, lead, for which up to 24 hourly averaging period National Ambient Air Quality Standards are prescribed. So there are 6 categories and with a distinct color scheme and each category is associated with the likely health impacts and also it considered 8 pollutants. Okay. This is National Air Quality Index. Now we will discuss about water pollution. So what is this water pollution? Water pollution is the addition or presence of undesirable substances in water such as organic, inorganic, biological, radiological, heat which degrades the quality of water so that it becomes unfit for use. So water becomes unfit for use by the undesirable quantities of organic, inorganic, biological, radiological, heat and it degrades the quality of water. So this is known as water pollution. Natural sources of pollution of water are soil erosion, leaching of minerals from the rocks, and decaying organic matter. So these are the natural sources of water pollution. Now we will discuss about dissolved oxygen. Dissolved oxygen is the oxygen which is dissolved in water. Presence of organic and inorganic waste in water decreases the dissolved oxygen content of the water. So, if water contains some organic and inorganic waste, the dissolved oxygen content of the water is decreased. Okay, so water having DO content below, DO is dissolved oxygen, DO content below 8 mg per liter may be considered as contaminated. So, if the water contains dissolved oxygen less than 8 mg per liter, it is considered as contaminated. When the water having dissolved oxygen below 4 mg per liter, it is considered to be highly polluted. So, DO content of water is very important for the survival of aquatic organisms. Aquatic organisms need dissolved oxygen, right, for respiration purposes. A number of factors like surface turbulence, photosynthetic activities, O2 consumption by organisms, and the decomposition of organic matter are the factors which determine the amount of DO presence in the water. So these are the factors which determine the amount of dissolved oxygen which is present in the water. The higher amounts of waste increases the rates of decomposition and O2 consumption, thereby decreases the DO content of water. If water contains higher amounts of waste, the rate of decomposition is increased. Thus, oxygen consumption is also increased and thereby it decreases the dissolved oxygen content of water. Next, we will discuss about biological oxygen demand. So, biological oxygen demand. What is this biological oxygen demand? Water pollution by organic waste is measured in terms of biochemical oxygen demand or biological oxygen demand. BOD is the amount of dissolved oxygen needed by bacteria in decomposing the organic waste. So, it is the dissolved oxygen which is needed by the bacteria to decompose the organic waste present in the water. So, it is expressed in milligrams of oxygen per liter of water. The higher the value of BOD, lower the DO content of the water. If BOD is increased, DO content will be less because BOD is the amount of oxygen which is needed by the bacteria to decompose the organic waste. So, when decomposition takes place, O2 is consumed and thus dissolved oxygen is decreased. Since BOD is limited to biodegradable materials, it is not a reliable method of measuring water pollution. So, it is limited to biodegradable materials. It won't consider other factors. So, it is not a reliable method for measuring water pollution. Next is chemical oxygen demand. Chemical oxygen demand is a slightly better mode used to measure pollution load in the water. COD measures the amount of oxygen in parts per million. It measures the amount of oxygen in parts per million which is required to oxidize organic and oxidizable inorganic compounds. So, it is the amount of oxygen in parts per million required to oxidize organic and oxidizable inorganic compounds in the water sample. These organic compounds consist of biodegradable and non-biodegradable things. So, this is known as COD. Next, we will discuss about soil pollution. Soil pollution is defined as the addition of substances to the soil which will adversely affect the physical, chemical and biological properties of soil and reduces its productivity. It is a buildup of persistent toxic compounds, chemical, salt, radioactive materials or disease-causing agents in the soil which have adverse effect on plant growth, human and animal health. It will have adverse effect on plant growth, human and animal health. These toxic compounds, chemical, salt, radioactive materials or disease-causing agents will have adverse effect on plant growth, human and animal health. So, this is soil pollution. Sources are industrial waste, and in this industrial waste include chemicals such as mercury, lead, copper, zinc, cadmium, cyanides, thiocyanates, chromates, acids, alkalis, organic substances, etc. So, these are the industrial waste which are the sources of soil pollution. Next is pesticide. Pesticides are chemicals that include insecticides, fungicides, algicides, rodenticides, weedicides sprayed in order to improve the productivity of agriculture. So, pesticides are used to increase the productivity of agriculture, forestry and horticulture. Next is fertilizers and manures. Chemical fertilizers are added to the soil for increasing crop yield. So excessive use of these chemical fertilizers will reduce the population of soil-borne organisms and thus crumb the structure of the soil. It will reduce the population of soil organisms and it will crumb the structure of the soil, productivity of the soil, and it increases the salt content of the soil. Discarded materials include concrete, asphalt, rungs, leather, cans, plastics, glass, discarded food, paper, and carcasses. Radioactive waste. Radioactive elements from mining and nuclear power plants find their way into water and then into the soil. Other pollutants include many air pollutants such as acid rain. Water pollutants ultimately become the part of the soil. So it consists of acid rain and the water pollutants which ultimately become the part of the soil, and the soil also receives some toxic chemicals during weathering of certain rocks too. So these are the sources of pollutants for soil pollution. E-waste, the discarded and end-of-life electronic products ranging from computers, equipment used in information and communication technology, home appliances, audio and video products, and all of their peripherals are popularly known as e-waste or electronic waste. It is the discarded electronic products. Simply, it is discarded electronic products which is used in communication technology, home appliances, audio and video products, and also their peripherals. E-waste is not hazardous if it is stored in safe storage or recycled by scientific method. It is not very hazardous like other materials. If it is stored in safe storage and it is recycled or transported from one place to other parts or in totally in the formal sector. The e-waste can however be considered hazardous if recycled by primitive methods. If primitive methods are used, e-waste can be hazardous. Next is pyrolysis. What is pyrolysis? It is a process of combustion in absence of oxygen. So it is a combustion in absence of oxygen. Combustion takes place in the absence of oxygen or the material burned under controlled atmosphere of oxygen. It is an alternative to incineration. The gas and liquid thus obtained can be used as fuels. So the gas which is obtained by this process can be used as fuel. Pyrolysis of carbonaceous waste like firewood, coconut, palm waste, corn cobs, cashew shell, rice husk, paddy straw and sawdust yields charcoal along with the products like tar, methyl alcohol, acetic acid, acetone and a fuel gas. So pyrolysis is a process of combustion in the absence of oxygen or under controlled atmosphere of oxygen. It is an alternative to incineration. Next is bioremediation. Bioremediation is the use of microorganisms like bacteria or fungi to degrade the environmental contaminants into less toxic forms. So it is a method to degrade the environmental contaminants to less toxic forms. The microorganisms may be indigenous to a contaminated area or they may be isolated from elsewhere and brought to the contaminated site. So these microorganisms may be indigenous to the contaminated area or it may be isolated from elsewhere and brought to the contaminated area. So this is bioremediation. Next is acid rain. Acid rain is the rainfall that has been acidified. It is acidified rain. It is formed from the oxides of sulfur and nitrogen react with the moisture in the atmosphere. So the oxides of sulfur and oxides of nitrogen react with the atmosphere, moisture content in the atmosphere, and it is a rain of pH less than 5.6. The acid rain is particularly damaging to lakes, streams and forests and the plants and animals that live in the ecosystem. So acid rain is acidified rain and pH will be less than 5.6. Next we will discuss some MCQs. First question. Biological oxygen demand is a standard criterion for A. Measuring oxygen levels in blood. B. Computing levels in forest ecosystem. C. Pollution assay in aquatic ecosystem. And D. Assessing oxygen levels in high altitude regions. So the solution is option C. pollution assay in aquatic ecosystem. Next question. 3 of the following criteria have contributed to the recognition of Western Ghats, Sri Lanka and Indo-Burma regions as hotspots for biodiversity. 1. Species richness. 2. Vegetation density. 3. Endemism. 4. Ethnobotanical importance. 5. Threat perception. 6. Adaptation of flora and fauna to warm and humid conditions. Which 3 of the above are correct criteria in this context? A. 1, 2 and 6. B. 2, 4 and 6. C. 1, 3 and 5. And D. 3, 4 and 6. So which is the correct answer? The correct answer is C. 1, 3 and 5. Next question. Among the following states, which one has the most suitable climatic conditions for the cultivation of a large variety of orchids with minimum cost of production and can develop an export-oriented industry in the field? A. Andhra Pradesh, B. Arunachal Pradesh, C. Madhya Pradesh and D. Uttar Pradesh. So the correct answer is option B, Arunachal Pradesh. Next question. Which of the following can be threats to the biodiversity of a geographical area? 1. Global warming. 2. Fragmentation of habitat. 3. Invasion of alien species. 4. Promotion of vegetarianism. Select the correct answer using the codes given below. A. 1, 2 and 3 only. B. 2 and 3 only. C. 1 and 4 only. And D. 1, 2 and 4. So the correct answer is A. 1, 2 and 3. Next question. In which of the following categories of protected areas in India are local people not allowed to collect and use the biomass? A. Biosphere reserves. B. National parks. C. Wetlands declared under Ramsar Convention. D. Wildlife sanctuaries. The correct answer is B. National parks. So this was all for today's class. Thank you and have a nice day.